Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. He'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Here's where we are today. It is the 2nd of May, 2014, as we know. We have a moon sign in Gemini, where it's going to be all today, tomorrow, or just after midnight. It's going to make that change into Cancer, but we were Gemini all day long. We have sun sign is in Taurus, so we have Earth and Air. We have an opposition taking place later. We've been doing the squares and the triangles. Now I'm going to add another one in here, the opposition. The opposition is when two planets are opposite each other. So just think about what that means when things are opposites. They balance each other out because they're opposites. Think of a teeter-totter, how they work together. One pushes, one pulls. Sometimes things that are opposites can have a bit of tension between them, but because of that tension, there's some positive action that comes out of it. So they're one of the interesting. They're up there with the trines and the squares as far as one of the signs or one of the aspects to be aware of, because what we're always looking for is how energy is interacting with other energy. So you've got all these planets and all these energies bouncing off, and as they'll have various alignments, they align with each other in different ways. And that's where these different aspects, what they represent. Alignments of planets, kind of cool the way it all just comes together. So this weekend we're going to be moving into a water sign, Cancer. Tomorrow should be a pretty good day. Got some squares and some trines going on, dealing with Pluto, with Neptune. Sunday also. So we've got an emotional, watery weekend. The numerology for today is a 5. Here's how we got that. 5 plus 2 plus 2 on 4. 5 plus 2 is 7, 14. And 1 plus 4 is 5. The process is theosophic subtraction, reducing till you get till one lower number. So you keep going, adding the two numbers together, and that gets you to the single number. And then what I like to do is, whatever that single number is, I look to see what is that number represent in the tree of life. What does it represent in tarot? So that's why I have this up here. The 5, as we can see, represents Taurus, or the Hierophant. So we look here. Here's the path of the Hierophant. Okay, the month we're in is Taurus, so it's also the same representation here. The sun sign is represented here. So by going through and just looking to see where the placement is on the tree of life, you can then begin to understand a bit more about how all of this comes together. Okay, it's a lot of personal interpretation as you're looking at this symbol. A lot of you look at this, and the whole objective is to just allow your mind to tell you what this is teaching you, because each one of these sephira, each one of these circles, has particular lessons, and it really will kind of be a nice way of looking at energy if you just get used to looking at and comparing everything to this. Because in here, as you can see, we got colors, we have numbers, we have tarot associations, we have astrological associations. Once you get into numbers, you can start talking about numbers and the commonality. Ones means the same as all the other ones, and the I Chings and the astrologies and the Mayans. Twos mean the same as all the twos and threes and so on. And so there's a common understanding, and you can just certainly sum it all up within here and begin to understand in a nice, simple way how energy moves. And again, just a refresher, the circles represent classrooms. You go into the classroom to learn a lesson. You have this area outside of here, referred to as the no thing or the Ein Sof. That is feeding this energy. Superconscious energy enters through the crown, and then the conscious mind goes to understand what it is learning, what it has learned. So we have learning, we have understanding, we have mercy and severity, we have victory and splendor, our emotions and mind, our foundation, our hearts, and the physical kingdom. And we go into these classrooms and we learn lessons, and then we walk between the classrooms. And we have these pictorial representations of the lessons that are learned and the path that you're walking as you go between the classrooms. And as you continue to study this, you'll find more and more a deeper understanding, and you'll see that this is nothing that is the superstitious item that people say it is. It's simply a way of looking at energy. That's it. Simply a way of looking at energy. Okay? Our current moon phase is 12% full. If we look out at the sky tonight, says soon after sunset you can see the first stars and planet. How soon can you see them? Well, the brightest is Jupiter. Look for it high in the west. The second is Sirius, sinking in the southwest. So as we look at our moon tonight here, and Jupiter tells us Jupiter is going to be the brightest one, high in the west. So it's going to be out in this area here, so probably right up here. And looking second brightest is Sirius, will be in the southwest. Does this sit down here perhaps? Alright, so that's what you're going to look at when you see the sky tonight. Here we have a two-tone day. The lunar tone, which is a tone of challenge because something pulls apart like an opposition. And it has to find a way to balance itself out now that these opposites have made themselves known. Two individuals are standing on their own. Phrase for today, which is a seed, so it's the lunar seed guided by the warrior. Like-minded energy is the eagle. Challenge is the wizard. Hidden power is navigation. Wave spell is the wave spell or theme of the night, which is about dreams and abundance. And the phrase is, I polarize in order to target stabilizing awareness. I seal the input of flowering with the lunar tone of challenge. I am guided by the power of intelligence. And today is a galactic activation portal day. These are these days when energy intersects on this particular grid. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows down and 1, 2, 3, 4 columns over. That is why there's an intersection here. These 6 columns and these 6 columns are reflections of each other. As you can see back here on this side, there's the same marking at the 4 over and 4 down mark. And the middle section is just the central pillar where everything revolves around this. So when you're looking at this grid, you're not just looking at a grid that's a flat grid. It is definitely has dimension to it. Now you go over to spaceweather.com. Solar wind 340.0 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is quiet. Just that little bitty coronal hole right there. Nothing of significance, we're told. M-class flares dropped down to 35. It was at 40 yesterday. And our geomagnetic storm activities dropped way low It had been up to 55 and 40, and it's down now to next to nothing on both sides. And on the Jewish calendar today, we are at 2 Lyre day, and Omer is day 17. All right, there you go. That gets us started for today. UFO news is up next. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. First story comes to us from Florida. So, witness reports hovering object had wings. There's our picture in question. UFO Examiner. Florida witness in Tallahassee reported watching a triangle-shaped object hovering 200 feet over Lake Lamonia that eventually moved towards them and then sped away at high speed beginning at 9:05 p.m. This was on the 30th of April. The witnesses were driving along a Bullheady Road when they first encountered the lights. I saw 2 bright lights, brighter and brighter from any airplane I've ever seen, the reporting witness stated. I told the driver of the car to keep going and not turn so we can see what it was. We noticed that it was not moving, seemingly hovering. We went right to the lakefront park and with our lights on. It was hovering at the center of the lake. I'm not sure exactly how big it was, but it wasn't small, and it was hovering about 200 feet up. It had 2 main bright lights on the wings and a smaller white light at the front. We watched it for about 5 minutes just sitting there hovering. I forgot to turn off the flash right after I flashed the camera. The photo is not that good. It started coming toward us. We were still interested, so we rolled down the window to get a look. The sound was quiet, droning noise, almost like an airplane that is very, very high up in the sky. Just remember again, it wasn't high in the sky at all. It wasn't going fast to start out with, but it went over us and turned around to follow. It sped up gradually. We sped up, but we could not even match it with our car. Okay. Said as it was over us, there were definitely had 2 wings on the side. There was a small red light, and was a sharp triangle. That was the last we saw of it going into the distance. To specify the shape, it was an equilateral triangle with 2 points, being what I thought they were wing-like, though they didn't seem to use them as wings. Okay. Now from there we move on to Mexico. We're going to go back to April 11th. Alzapan, Mexico. See, this special object is captured in infrared, contorting and moving very strangely. Know that it is interesting how the object moves over the skies of Alzapan of Zaragoza. The object was captured on April 11th in Ito of Mexico. In the form of infrared, you could see it at a glance when you hear the plane approaching the object. Is when I took the picture to show the reference to the same distance. And it's 3 minutes and 21 seconds, this video. There's our object in question. We've certainly seen these kind before, so we're not really seeing anything that's just completely different, right? They're all the same glowing orbs, or we've seen these connected ones, we've seen the triangles, we've seen the rectangles. Okay, moving on from here. Next we're going to go over to the surface of Mars, and now there's another little shiny object light coming up. This is the 3rd one now. Street Cat 1 never seems to take a break. He has just released a new light he found on the surface of Mars. He's the same person who found the light earlier that went viral. He says the object is hovering above the surface, and he may be correct, but it's hard to tell for sure. So the light source coming from the surface of Mars makes you wonder why a $2 billion rover couldn't roam over and take a closer look for a few minutes. It's a good question. Good question. I guess they just feel that we just need to keep on moving along. Disregard the light on Mars. Alright. Here we have over Carrizozo, New Mexico. Says the video is a little hard to see in the beginning. Just stay with it around the 2-minute mark. Either another UFO turns up or we begin to see the full size of the craft. Okay, and 2-minute mark. Okay, let's see here. Alright, we have it's a 4-minute video. Here we go. Let's see, I jumped ahead to 2-minute mark. It's hard to see, as I said, as we put it in full screen, you can see it better. But you can see it, it's right in this area here. Okay. Alright, let's move on to the next one here. This was, I just showed you the light on Mars, okay. Light on Mars, right. Alright, just showed you that one. Here we have a compilation of sightings. This was from the month of April. 5 minutes. And we've seen these, many of these, if not most of them. Try to capture as many as I can. Find as many stories of what's out there, but there's a lot. Okay. So there's our objects. Okay, so this is a nice, good compilation. Okay, a little summary of the astronaut talking about what he saw. More sightings up on the moon. Out by the ISS. Here's something right there. It's hanging out. Okay, so I'm going to move on from there and leave it to you. And the last one is a report of April and the UFO monthly reports. 6 states report 257 April cases. It's from Roger Marsh again at the Examiner. The National UFO Alert rating system has been updated for May 2014, with California, Florida, Texas, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan moving to a UFO Alert 3 as the highest rating reporting states with 25 or more cases during the month. California was the leading high reporting state in April with 80 cases, down from 103 in March and 59 in February. 102 were in January. Those states in a UFO Alert 4 category with 13 or more reports include New York, Missouri, Arizona, New Jersey, North Carolina, Washington, Nevada, Oregon, and Colorado. All other states moved to an Alert 5 with a lower number of UFO activity. The watch states with 10 or more are Georgia, Indiana, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Alabama, Tennessee, and Illinois. These statistics were released on May 1st, where the total number of reported UFO sightings is listed by state. Okay. So there you have it. There's our UFO news report for today. I'm going to jump away. I'll be back. We're going to continue on with Kryballion today. Get another chapter through there. And let me just give you something to listen to. One of these cool UFOetry videos, which I know you love so much. Here we go. Confirm or deny.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Underground is where they live. In the bases that are secrets live. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny what's up with their lives. Plausible deniability. That's their answer to all we think we see. So pay attention. Read between the lines. Changes are happening, revealing lies. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny what's up with their lives. Underground where they live, in the bases that are secretive. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny what's up with their lives. I can neither confirm or deny. They can neither confirm or deny. It's time for them, confirm or deny. No more secret lies. I don't know about you, but I can't stand it anymore. I know what I saw. You know what you saw. Stand up for yourself. Think for yourself. The truth is out there. No more lies. No more lies. No more lies.
All right, no more lies. You know, I wrote that song because I met someone from the FBI. And every time I would ask them questions, and I used to hit them up with a lot of questions, they would give me the same answer. I can neither confirm nor deny. It just, I heard it so much that it just seemed the perfect chorus for a song. All right, moving onward. Here's we're going to do just one story before the Kryballion. This is an interesting looking place. It's called The Mystery of the Megalithic Stone Jars in Laos. Look at all these stone jars just covering the landscape here. See all kinds of them. The Plain of Jars is a megalithic archaeological landscape in Laos. Scattered in the landscape of Zeng Koing Plateau, Zeng Koing, Laos, are thousands of megalithic jars. These stone jars appear in clusters, ranging from a single or a few to several hundred jars in lower foothills surrounding the central plain and upland valleys. Several theories propose that the jars were used as funerary urns, while local legends suggest they were drinking vessels for the giants who used to inhabit the area. We're sure there's a sensible, perhaps even logical explanation to the Plain of Jars. We just don't know what it is. Hundreds of large stone jars lie scattered across an elevated plateau of rolling grassland to the south and to the west of Phon Savion in Laos. The origin and purpose of these huge mysterious jars is unclear, but they generally accepted that most date back to at least 2,000 years. The range between one of these is 3 meters long and each weigh several tons. Laos legend tells us that the jars were created by a race of giants whose king needed somewhere to store his rice wine. Others believe that they were placed there to collect the monsoon rainwater. Initial research of the Plain of Jars in the early 30s claimed that the stone jars are associated with prehistoric burial practices. Excavation by Laos and Japanese archaeologists in the intervening years has supported this interpretation with the discovery of human remains, burial goods, and ceramics around the stone jars. The Plain of Jars is dated to the Iron Age, which is 500 BCE to 500 CE, and is one of the most fascinating and important sites for studying Southwest Asian prehistory. The Plain of Jars has the potential to shed light on the relationship between increasingly complex societies and megalithic structures and provide insight into social organization of Iron Age South Asia's communities. All right. A lot more to the side here. But very interesting. Now, can you imagine if these were cups for a race of giants, how big those giants must be? Think about that for a moment. They must be pretty large. All right. All right. Always interesting things here on Earth, right? You know, I just really understand more and more how we can find whatever it is we want to look for out there. If we want to find interesting things in the world, we can find them. If we want to find love and examples of love, we can find it. If we want to find hatred and anger and violence, we can find that. Pretty much whatever we want, we can find down here. It just depends on what we do want, and when we get it, what we're going to do with it. So, Kryballion. Next chapter, gender. So, a refresher. 7 principles. Principle of mentalism, which was taken care of in this first grouping of chapters from 2 through 7. Then we went there to the plane of correspondence, how all of the different dimensions and planes within the mind of the all, within the all, correspond to each other, how everything is energy and vibrates, that all energy has poles to it, and we move from one extreme to the other extreme of the poles, and that these poles are the same ends, so therefore hot and cold are the same energy. It's just 2 spectrums or 2 ends of the same pole. Rhythm, how everything in the universe moves with a rhythm. Causation, the cause and effect. What we do has consequences. What is going on in the world and the things around us are a cause that was set in motion by other effects, maybe in the near past or the distant past. And now to gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes, the Kryballion. The great 7th Hermetic principle, the principle of gender, embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, that the masculine and feminine principles are ever present and active in all phases of phenomena on each and every plane of life. At this point, we think it well to call your attention to the fact that gender, in its Hermetic sense, and sex in the ordinary accepted use of the term are not the same. The word gender is derived from the Latin root meaning to beget, to procreate, to generate, to create, to produce. A moment's consideration will show you that the word has much broader and a more general meaning than the term sex, the latter referring to the physical distinctions between male and female living things. Sex is merely a manifestation of gender on a certain plane of the great physical plane, the plane of organic life. We wish to impress the distinction upon your minds for the reason that certain writers who have acquired a smattering of the Hermetic philosophy have sought to identify the Hermetic principle with wild and fanciful and often reprehensible theories and teachings regarding sex. The office of gender is solely that of creating, producing, generating, etc., and its manifestations are visible on every plane of phenomena. It is somewhat difficult to produce proofs of this along scientific lines for the reason that science has not yet recognized this principle as of universal application. But still, some proofs are forthcoming from scientific sources. In the first place, we find a distinct manifestation of the principle of gender among the corpuscles, ions, electrons, which constitute the basis of matter, as science now knows the latter, and which, by forming certain combinations, form the atom, which are until lately regarded as final and indivisible. The latest word of science is that the atom is composed of a multitude of corpuscles, electrons, and ions, the various names being applied by different authorities. They revolve around each other and vibrate at a high degree in intensity. By the accompanying statement is made that the formation of the atom is really due to the clustering of negative corpuscles around a positive one. The positive corpuscles seeming to exert a certain influence upon the negative corpuscles, causing the latter to assume certain combinations and thus create or generate an atom. This is in line with the most ancient Hermetic teachings, which have always identified the masculine principle of gender with the positive and the feminine with the negative. These are simply in terms of poles of electricity. Now, a word at this point regarding this identification. The public mind has formed an entirely erroneous impression regarding the qualities of the so-called negative pole, or electrified or magnetized matter. The terms positive and negative are very wrongly applied to this phenomenon by science. The word positive means something real and strong, as compared with negative, unreality, or weakness. Nothing is further from the real fact of electrical phenomena. The so-called negative pole of the battery is really the pole in by which the generation or production of new forms and energies is manifested. There is nothing negative about it. The best scientific authorities now use the word cathode in place of negative. The word cathode, coming from the Greek root meaning descent, the path of generation. From the cathode pole emerges the swarm of electrons or corpuscles. From the same pole emerge those wonderful rays which have revolutionized scientific conceptions during the past decade. The cathode pole is the mother of all of the strange phenomena which have rendered useless the old textbooks, and which have caused many long-accepted theories to be relegated to the scrap pile of scientific speculation. The cathode, or the negative pole, is the mother principle of electrical phenomena, and the finest forms of matter as yet known to science. So you see, we are justified in refusing to use the term negative in our consideration of the subject, and in insisting upon substituting the word feminine for the old term. The facts of the case bear us out in this, without taking the Hermetic teachings into consideration. And so we shall speak, and we shall use the word feminine in place of negative in speaking of that pole of activity. The latest scientific teachings are that the creative corpuscles or electrons are feminine. Science says they are composed of negative electricity. We say they are composed of feminine energy. A feminine corpuscle becomes detached from, or rather leaves, a masculine corpuscle and starts a new career. It actively seeks a union with a masculine corpuscle, being urged thereto by the natural impulses to create new forms of matter or energy. One writer goes so far as to use the term, it at once seeks of its own volition a union, etc. The detachment and the uniting form the basis of the greater part of the activities of the chemical world. When the feminine corpuscle unites with the masculine corpuscle, a certain process is begun. The feminine particles vibrate rapidly under the influence of the masculine energy and circle rapidly around the latter. This results in the birth of a new atom. The new atom is really composed of a union of the masculine and the feminine electrons or corpuscles. But when the union is formed, but the atom is a separate thing, having certain properties but no longer manifesting the property of free electricity. The process of detachment or separation of the feminine electrons is called ionization. These electrons or corpuscles are the most active workers in nature's field, arising from the unions or combinations manifest the varied phenomena of light, heat, electricity, magnetism, attraction, repulsion, chemical affinity, and the reverse, and similar phenomena. And all this arises from the operation of the principle of gender on the plane of energy. The part of the masculine principle seems to be that of directing a certain inherent energy towards the feminine principle, and thus starting into activity the creative process. But the feminine principle is the one always doing the creative work, and this is on all planes. And each principle is capable of operative energy without the assistance of the other. In some of the forms of life, the two principles are combined in one organism. For that matter, Everything in the organic world manifests both genders. There is always the masculine present in the feminine form, and the feminine. There is always the masculine present in the feminine form and the feminine form. The Hermetic teachings include much regarding the operation of these two principles of gender on the production and manifestation of various forms of energy, etc. But we do not deem it expedient to go into detail regarding the same at this point, because we are unable to back up the same with scientific proof, for the reason that science has not yet progressed thus far. But the example we have given to you of the phenomena of the electrons or corpuscles will show you that science is on the right path, and will also give you a general idea of the underlying principles. Some leading scientific investigators have announced their belief that in the formation of crystals there is to be found something that corresponds to sex activity, which is another straw showing the direction the scientific winds are blowing, and each year will bring other facts to corroborate the correctness of the Hermetic principle of gender. It will be followed that gender is the constant operation and manifestation in the fields of inorganic matter in the field of energy or force. Electricity is now generally regarded as the something into which all other forms of energy seem to melt or dissolve. The electrical theory of the universe is the latest scientific doctrine and is growing rapidly in popularity and general acceptance, and it thus follows that if we are able to discover in the phenomena of electricity even the very root and source of its manifestations, a clear and unmistakable evidence of the presence of gender and its activities, we are justified in asking you to believe that science at last has offered proofs of the existence in the universal phenomena of the great Hermetic principle, the principle of gender. It is now not necessary to take up your time with the well-known phenomena of the attraction and repulsion of the atoms, chemical affinity that loves and hates of the atomic particles, the attraction or cohesion between the molecules of matter. These facts are too well known and need extended comment from us. But have you ever considered that all of these things are manifestations of the gender principle? Can you not see that the phenomena is on all fours, and that the corpuscles or electrons? And more than this, can you not see that the reasonableness of the Hermetic teachings, which assert that this very law of gravitation, that strange attraction by reason of which all particles and bodies of matter in the universe tend towards each other, is but another manifestation of the principle of gender, which operates in the direction of attracting the masculine to the feminine energies, and vice versa? We cannot offer you scientific proof of this at the time, but examine the phenomena in light of the Hermetic teachings on the subject and see if you have not a better working hypothesis than any offered by physical science. Subtract all physical phenomena in the test, and you will discern the principle of gender ever in evidence. Let us now pass on to a consideration of the operation of the principle of the mental plane. Many interesting features are awaiting examination. Okay. And that is it for today. We've got a couple more chapters to go. What have we got yet? We've got one more piece on gender, and then just sort of a wrap-up of everything. So we'll finish all that next week. If you go through this and you look at these various lessons and you read through a lesson and then sit and meditate on what that's about, it's a good way to help you to understand not only these but any of the lessons that you're studying. It's one way that's certainly very effective. And genders, this is an important one. It's a very important one because we get all caught up, don't we? And this is negative, this is positive, and why is the feminine negative, and all the associations, when if we just understand and look at things from the understanding of everything is energy, it changes it, because now you're not looking at anything other than how this energy moves, and understanding the poles and the weight dimensions and the depth and all the different qualities of this energy. And so we're just getting better and better at learning how to use that. That is it. All right, here's another article. This one is over at In5D. You notice I like to pull a lot of info from there. They have good information, good researchers. So I like to make sure that you're getting good information. And there we have it. Here it is. This one says, the science of Ascension. Positrons have arrived to transform our reality. When I discovered at spaceweather.com that scientists are seeing the sun ejecting positrons now, I started jumping up and down and screaming with joy. This is what the entire world would be doing now if they knew what this means. This is the first time scientists have ever seen positrons being ejected from the sun, because it is the first time positrons have been ejected from the sun in this reality system. The teachings that were brought to Earth over the past 15 years by guardian races taught us that the universal duality that we have been living in is based upon the reverse spin technology of looking us into this destiny. We have been involuting or coming down into density. We were taught that when we began this evolutionary and ascension out of the time-locked prison, there would be electrons finally disappearing and being replaced with positrons. If we did not have the massive influence of the teachings of the quantum physics brought to Earth by those who have been living in this cosmic reality for millions of years, our scientists would have never have had the glimpse of such reality which has prepared them for realizing that their activity is such a thing as a positron. I learned about the positron from Ramtha in the Legacy Teaching DVDs. Ramtha is a Lemurian from 35,000 years ago who works with Mu in Inner Earth and has been teaching the quantum realities that we are about to encounter since the 70s. Ashinyana Dean, who has been teaching the science for about 10 years, and she was also communicating with Mu. It is very obvious that in order for the Earth to tune into the Inner Earth, where Mu and the other guardian races are waiting for us, we must go through this transition from particle to antiparticle shifting. We do not go to Inner Earth by walking down the same stairway. The idea of walking up the stairway to heaven onto the cloud cities is a metaphor for us actually becoming less and less dense until the cloud cities, the Inner Earth, and all Earth are become the same place in our new reality. I googled positron and learned that scientists have been baffled about this data or this idea of the positron since the 30s. There are 3 scientists that studied its existence. The conclusions indicated that if there were a positron, it would dissolve the hydrogen and its electron. Well, that matches exactly what is required for us to return to the reality of H2O 2He3. The hydrogen must turn into helium, and the electron must turn into the positron. Nabu discovered that positrons show change in the direction from past to the future. That is the definition of evolution. We are moving from the past to the future. We are moving into a new future of grand possibilities. Dmitry Skobeltsyan has shown us that the positrons curved in the opposite direction, again showing that we have finally turned around and are ascending back into the very vast field of possibilities of our cosmos. Yoichiro Nambu later applied it to all production and annihilation of principal particle-antiparticle pairs, stating that the eventual creation and annihilation of pairs that may occur now and then is no creation or annihilation, but only a change of direction of moving particles from past to future, or from future to past. Carl Anderson showed the positron to be an animator. This is what is the most exciting. The process of ascension, or the transformation of our bodies and of the Earth, requires that the antiparticles or antimatter to become absorbed into the particle. We are now merging with the antiparticle universe into the particle universe, or the spiritual into the physical. As the sun sprays this antiparticle substance into our atmosphere, our bodies and our consciousness is transposing. The new realization of the positron is much more accurated on the higher levels of understanding than the protons and the photons being the elements of our transposition. The positron shows that original spiritual divine essence of our universe is finally being returned to us. This is the beginning of the merging more and more into the antimatter, the quantum spiritual and visible substance of our creation. The more we are given some actual visible realities of these divine sciences, the more our consciousness will accept that it is happening, and that will trigger a mass consciousness of believing. Here is a definition of positron. This is from Dmitry Skolbeltsyan. He first observed the positron in 1929 while using a Wilson cloud chamber to try to detect gamma radiation and cosmic rays. He detected particles that acted like electrons, but curved in the opposite direction in an applied magnetic field. Carl D. Anderson discovered the positron on August 2, 1932, for which he won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1936. Anderson also coined the term positron. The positron was the first evidence of antimatter and was discovered when Anderson allowed cosmic rays to pass through a cloud chamber and a lead plate. A magnet surrounded the apparatus, causing particles to bend in different directions and based on their electric charge. The ion trail left by each positron appeared on the photographic plate with a curvature matching the mass to change ratio of an electron, but in a direction that showed its change was positive. This is the same antiparticle formula that we use when we talk about and we walk into the mirror to translate our bodies into antiparticle, etheric, spiritual blue bodies. When we walk into the candle or into the mirror, we are walking into the full spectrum of light, or the entire rainbow prism. We actually disappear into the rainbow prism and then reappear as a blue body. The rainbow prism is coming from the intense electrical field like a magnetic mirror, which is a device used in thermonuclear process, that is the mirror. The nuclear process is actually contained within the intense dark matter within the mirror, that the same mirror effects exist within our brain. We are supposed to be able to walk all the way through the mirror and see ourselves on the other side. By practicing this, walking through the mirror, we are adjusting our brains. We're reversing the way our mind works. We are training our minds to see the other side of reality, the quantum field that we think of as invisible, but it is not invisible. We just have had our brains turned off so that we can't see the rest of reality. We have forgotten how to manifest the reality that we desire through our midbrain. We are preparing for our grand manifesting by practicing with the mirror. By using the mirror, we can learn to feel the antimatter substances that is within it. We can feel how it makes our bodies translate. We can perceive how it allows us to see a reality that we don't know was there. Our manifestations become manifest in the Hertzian because it is what is tangible to us in this world. All right, a lot more to the article. I'm going to zip to the end here. It talks about the sun and what the sun gives. It says the core starts from the center and extends out to encompass 25% of the sun's radius. Its temperature is greater than 15 million degrees Kelvin. At the core, gravity pulls all the mass inward and creates an intense pressure. This pressure is high enough to force atoms of hydrogen to come together in nuclear fusion reactions, something we try to emulate here on Earth. Two atoms of hydrogen are combined and create helium-4 and energy in several steps. Okay, so very interesting article. A lot of information to digest there, so you might want to read through it a couple of times. But it's very interesting just to see how science kind of catches up at times with what spirituality is showing. You know, what has been known by the masters, the ancients of the planets for such a long period of time. And human mind, because it is skeptical, it needs to have science to be able to prove it, because not everybody is a believing kind of person. And some, even though we're told that having faith is simply a matter of taking that step and having that faith, there are those who need to have the step-by-step to get there. And that's okay. We all take whatever time we need to get to where we need to get. And we're all going to make it there. We just have to learn accordingly. And then the process escalates as we're more ready, more aware. All right? Very good. So let's jump to our message for today. It is from Saul.
Saul, turn towards the light which will never reject you.
April 28, 2014, by John Smallman.
All are one. You all know that.
you accept it as a basic fact or concept, and then you dismiss it from your minds as you go about your daily affairs. But you need to make it a part of yourselves, an aspect of yourselves that you carry in your conscious awareness at all times, otherwise it remains as meaningless to you as any field of study of which you have only vague knowledge and that holds no interest for you, an idea that is unimportant and is therefore readily dismissed and forgotten. The fact that all are one is an aspect of reality that you cannot afford to dismiss offhandedly, and as of no interest, while you go about your daily routines. Awareness of it needs to be an important and distinctive characteristic of your personal field of sentient consciousness. If you shut it out of your awareness, then you are putting yourselves on autopilot, allowing your egos to rule your attitudes and behaviors, as the real you, the eternal part that is one with Source, takes a nap. Then later, maybe, it becomes apparent that something strange has happened and you find yourself struggling with issues and conflicts that are quite disturbing, and wondering what could have caused them. Then ego suggests to you that nothing untoward has happened that it cannot cope with on your behalf, so you bury the cares that disturbed you in your unconscious, that vast dump where so much junk, gathered and disposed of over the years, festers and grows rancid. But eventually that junk dump is going to make its presence felt, and you will have to deal with it. In fact, for many of you now, all that buried and denied garbage is blasting its way into your awareness, causing you considerable discomfort. When you find yourselves experiencing long-forgotten painful memories, just allow them to flow. Like the weather, they will pass. Do not judge them or yourselves, but if you find yourselves unable to resist doing so, then forgive yourselves afterwards. Remind yourselves yet again that the environment that you appear to inhabit is illusory, as are all the pain, sufferings, conflicts, and betrayals. You are, and always will be, the beloved children of God, created perfect, not your bodies, which are basically ego-driven vehicles in which you are riding, and therefore remaining eternally perfect. Those memories, however painful, are part of the games of separation that you have been playing, and are unreal. When you awaken, they will be gone. However, while you remain within the illusory world of distrust, suffering, and betrayal, forgiveness is your steadfast and constant ally. Practice it, become adept. Your ego's shrill protests that you either need to feel intense guilt for what you have done, or that you need to be recognized and compensated for wrongs done to you, are distractions that attempt to divert you from your path to awakening. Reality is a state in which only love is present, and by forgiving you divest yourselves of all that is in opposition to it, of all the judgments and anxieties to which you are clinging in fear and anger, thus clearing your hearts so that love may enter. When ancient issues, long since buried and only faintly remembered, seem to overwhelm you, remind yourselves that they are coming up for release, and not as a punishment for bad behavior to fill you with guilt. Feelings of unworthiness, for instance, that you use as a cloak or veil under which to hide because you believe that love, God, your Father would reject or shame you if you entered into His presence. Ask your friends in the spiritual realms, whoever is your favorite saint, angel, guide, or mentor, to help you to feel the field of love in which you are eternally held safe and secure. When you ask for this, when you seek to know that you are dearly loved, you release some of the blocks to love and allow it to flow through you once again, bringing you peace and certainty of your divine connection. It is a bit like aerating stagnant water to refresh and revitalize it. However, allowing love to flow through your hearts, even if only temporarily as you take a break from your feelings of guilt and unworthiness, is far more uplifting and invigorating. The distractions of the illusion consistently draw your attention to all that is unloving, distrust, deceit, corruption, hardship, etc., and when you focus there, fear and helplessness can easily overwhelm you. But you are coming home, you are going to awaken into reality, it is inevitable, unavoidable, and for that give thanks, and then focus your attention there, tell yourself, I am going to awaken. Deep within yourself you do know this, so to reaffirm it is a most valuable exercise in preparation for this inevitable, imminent, and awesome event. You are dearly loved, you always have been, and you always will be. However, momentarily, the truth of that eludes you, and so we in the spiritual realms are constantly reminding you, bringing that truth back into your awareness through myriad channeled messages, and by giving you a loving squeeze when you make contact with us during your periods of prayer, contemplation, or meditation. You have not been abandoned, left alone, forgotten. That could never happen. But you have allowed yourselves to become very deeply immersed in the unreal and nightmarish world of the illusion, and it is from that you are to awaken. Forgiveness is an essential part of your awakening process because it frees you of the guilt and shame, with which you have so heavily burdened yourselves, giving you the courage and the desire to turn towards the light, instead of feeling afraid of it and turning away to avoid rejection. Fear of rejection is a major aspect of the illusion with which many of you are dealing almost constantly, and within the illusion you do experience it. However, like all aspects of the illusion, it is unreal. You are all divine beings eternally and infinitely loved and embraced by God, and that can never change. So turn towards the light which will never reject you, wake up, and rejoice in the wonder of knowing yourselves once more as you truly are. With so very much love, Saul.
Alright, very nice message today from Saul. That brings us to our meditation. So let's go to it. Go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. Activate all of your chakras, starting with the one at the top of your head. Imagine a white light coming down from the cosmos and entering the crown chakra, and that light in color, the crown chakra, is violet. And this violet-colored light shines down, and it moves down until it gets to the next chakra, which is indigo, and this is right between the two eyes. And the light continues down further to the throat chakra, and there the color is blue. And the light continues down further, down to the heart chakra, and there green is the color. And from the green heart chakra, the energy continues down, where it turns yellow in the solar plexus area, and continues down further, and as it gets to the belly button area, orange is the color. And then finally it reaches the bottom of the spine, your root chakra, and there you see the color red. And then the light continues on into the earth. And just feel your connection to the earth, and feel your connection to the cosmos, and understand your connection to both the earth and to the sky. And feel the energy moving, flowing, vibrating, corresponding. And just allow that energy to expand outward from your being to form an egg of protection around you, and then continue out into the world, moving out to your room, to your home, your neighborhood, your city, state, country, and finally across the oceans to the other countries. Now imagine yourself walking up to a mirror and looking in the mirror, and you see your reflection staring back at you. And no matter which way you move, your reflection stays in perfect time, perfect synchronicity with you. And as you look at the mirror, walk closer and closer to it until you touch the mirror, and you notice that as you touch the mirror, you're able to walk into it. So walk completely into the mirror and turn back and look as your reflection looking back out at you, and see the world from this perspective. See yourself. See the world in which you live. And begin to understand the similarities and the differences. And go ahead and walk back through the mirror to come back onto the side where you started. And look around and see if you notice the difference from where you were to where you are now. and contemplate the idea of what reflection is. And as you walk around in the world today, imagine how life reflects back to us. It reflects back to us who we are and the people that we meet, and the conversations we have, and the things that we hear or we see. So let's go through the world today, this weekend, aware of the communication that is taking place constantly between the universe and between ourselves. And as we pay more attention, and as we really tune in to what is being said to us, shown to us, reflected at us, we begin to understand even deeper the communication that constantly takes place between this ever-moving, ever-evolving, ever-present energy that always has been and always shall be. And for all of this, let us give thanks to God, to the Creator. Thank you, Father, for shining your all-pervading light into our lives, that we may reflect out to the universe that which you ask of us to express. Send out thankfulness and forgiveness to all of those persons we know in life, and all of those we don't know who are involved with positions of authority. Let us send them light and love, and the thought that they make sure that they are in control of the power that has been given to them, that they are using it responsibly, and that all of us are holding them in check, holding them accountable for their actions in the same way that they are holding us accountable for being good people. And as we understand the goodness all around in all people, and we look for the goodness, we find the goodness, and all of the other drifts away. So let us see us walking along the path, appreciating the reflections that we see in all ways, that we hear in all ways, that we experience in all ways. And let us just send out love and light as we continue on, and let our subconscious mind continue on that journey, and let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. Thanks for being here again for another week. Lots of great links to go check out. I'll be back next week. We'll continue on with more of the Urantia. We'll continue on with the Kryballion. And we'll continue on with some other interesting bits of information that's out in the world that we need to talk about or, learn about. That's it. Have an awesome weekend. Love ya. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.